Victoria's top traffic cop wants a review of speed limits. If you think that traffic's slow already, this might not be the news you're looking for in your paper tomorrow. More traffic cameras and a crackdown on drug drivers to curb the road toll. Tanvir, this is something I've been talking about for a long time, about drug drivers. I think we've seen such an escalation in road rage, not just in numbers, but in the sheer sort of aggression that people are using on your roads. So Victoria's top traffic cop, the Assistant Commissioner, Stephen Lean, has asked Victorians to nominate roads and the speeds that should be cut. They're also looking about drug drivers. What do you make of that?
It's a tough one, because some of these issues, tougher and tougher penalties don't necessarily curb the behaviour. I think the drug issue is interesting because I think there's been a change in that type of use. Like you'll find some of the worst accidents that involve substances are often related to amphetamines and other non-alcohol drugs. Now, alcohol's obviously still a massive factor, but some of these other illicit drugs seem to be kind of growing as a source of these. In terms of the wider thing, Australia has some of the lowest speed limits in the Western world. So whenever I hear these kind of things, just make it even tougher, it annoys me. It's just sort of evidence of how sort of nanny-ish our regulators often get. So I'm not convinced by that story and the tough cop.
No, I take your point there too. They're talking about more point-to-point cameras, Paige. I think people who do the daily grind in Melbourne, where there are terrible bottlenecks and traffic really does slow right down, will think, well, we actually need help getting to and from work. What do you think about my point about drugs and road rage, though? We've seen an escalation of it here in Western Australia, haven't we?
Yeah, and my advice to my partner when he's on the road, I don't drive, is if somebody has done something annoying, just let it go. And I think that's a sign that you just don't know what people are going to do. They go berserk over precisely nothing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same. Tanvir, before we move on to the next paper, I'm exactly the same as Paige. If we're driving and someone cuts in front of me, I don't react at all now. I've just seen and I've covered too many stories where people are aggressive, they get out of cars, they punch, they carry on. Have you noticed an escalation in that in New South Wales?
Yeah. Look, to some extent, I think there is higher rate. Just traffic is worse. People are in a greater rush. Busyness is a modern epidemic, but there's definitely something about the car, isn't it, that affects you. Like the wider boundaries of the car is some sort of expression of the boundaries of self, and people, because you can't see the individual, or you don't have actually any sort of personal connection with whoever it is that you've hit. So then people have these more kind of primitive, aggressive reactions. There's something about road rage that is especially primitive. So I think your responses are good, not always possible in most people. I must say I would like to have Paige's response, but it doesn't always work that way, I'm afraid.